And let me go ahead. I'll go ahead and give you a call. Let's see. We're gonna go with Skype call. I do have my button down, so hello. Joining me at this time is a professional kiteboarder. Her name is Jessica Winkler. She's with me right now. Hello there, Jessica.
Hi.
How's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm doing great. First and foremost, you sound very clear. Uh,
Good.
and just to let the people who didn't get to see Jessica the first time around, there were some technical difficulties, internet connection not that high. Um, so we have done reschedule interviews before, but I wouldn't call this a reschedule. I call this more of a redo, like a mulligan, if you will.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So um, before I get into these questions, I noticed you've been doing a lot of traveling as of late. So if you don't mind, talk to the listeners about the places you have visit over the course of the last several days or so.
Yeah, well, I was in Mauritius for 3 months, kiting there, which is why my internet connection was so bad last time we talked, because Mauritius was very far away from New York, and this internet there is terrible. And then I actually went to Cape Town in South Africa, and I was there like 2.5 days. And then I went to Dubai and passed by New York, and now I'm in Turks and Caicos. So it's been a long week.
All right, for those that are not familiar with Tacos, exactly where is that located at?
It's one of the Caribbean islands, so it's not that far away from Cuba, actually. Just a little bit more east of Cuba.
Translation: She's living in paradise.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
absolutely the most beautiful place. Wow.
It's Hawaiian esque. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I don't know. I think it might be a little bit nicer.
Okay. Interesting. So Jessica, first question.
Sure.
Exactly what got you into doing kiteboarding?
Well, I grew up snowboarding and wakeboarding, and I had actually moved to Victoria in British Columbia, and I didn't really have the opportunity to do either one of those sports well. So what happened was one day, and this was like in 2001, I was driving down the beach and I saw these like beautiful, colorful things flying around, which I'd never seen before. And I parked my car and went out and watched. And the first time I saw it, I was completely mesmerized by the sport. It's so beautiful, and I always knew, like deep down inside, that it's something that I would be good at. But at the time, the sport was quite dangerous, and it was still really new, so I couldn't actually get anyone to teach me, and I didn't learn until 2007 when I went to South America. So I actually had my first lessons in Peru, and then that was it. I was hooked. So yeah.
I like to consider myself a sports fan. I'm like basketball, baseball, football, volleyball, and I haven't really heard too much about kiteboarding until I first heard of you through World Entertainment Agency. For those that are not familiar with kiteboarding, exactly how you being an athlete, how exactly how does it go? Is it like a skill competition? Is it based on how many tricks you can do? Like exactly how does kiteboarding actually works?
Well, within the sport, there's different types of competitions. So there is one where you are judged on your tricks. So they'll be awarded points for different tricks depending on the level of difficulty. There's also speed racing. So that's depending on how fast you go, you get two different speeds and then they average it out. And then obviously the fastest person wins. There's another foil boarding now. It's a certain type of board, and it's more like a course race. So there'll be a certain circuit out on the water, and it would be like, Formula One or something. They're just racing for hours. Um, so, there's, it just depends. And then there's also the surfing aspect too. So that's becoming more popular now. So you're actually using a surfboard to kite, and then again, you'd be judged on the quality of you riding a wave. So there's a lot of variety within the sport, which is really nice because, you have so many different types of people, and you can go in any different direction once you learn.
I now completely understand it now. And I do, and I like extreme sports. I like skateboarding. I like uh, motocross. So I guess that's where kiteboarding fits in that mold as far as competition and type of things that you athletes are able to do. So I definitely got to start checking out some videos of kiteboarding. I may be very interested in the sport. I may be very intrigued.
I
But
mean, the thing too is anybody can learn it, which is nice because the misconception is most people think it's crazy, but it doesn't have to be. So, I've taught a child who was 7 years old to kite, and I've also taught somebody who was 70 to kite. So, anybody does have the ability to do it, and it's basically as extreme as you want it to be, which is nice as well. So.
did you just say that you taught a 70, as in 70 year old, how to kiteboard?
Yeah,
Yikes.
actually, believe it or not, there's quite a few people around the world that are old that kite because it doesn't have anything to do with strength, it's technique. So once you learn the technique, it's actually pretty simple and it's not difficult on your body. You know what I mean? Like windsurfing was a sport that was really, physically demanding and hard on people's knees, and kiting isn't like that. So you can pick a condition, for example, lower wind and water that's not very wavy, and it's quite relaxing. Or you can be in places that have crazy, like, hurricane winds, and then it's extreme.
Gotcha. And this should be a good example to all the elderly people out there. It's never too late to live your life. Enjoy your life. If a 70-year-old can do some kiteboarding, you anything's possible.
That's exactly right. There is no
No
excuse.
no excuse. If a 70-year-old can kiteboard, then you can do something just as adventurous as what that person was able to do. That's
And
something to point out.
that's exactly right. I think it's a very important point. I always really enjoy teaching the older. I like teaching people over 50, especially women, because every single one of them thinks that it's impossible. And when you finally get them to a point where they're able to get up and ride, they are so exhilarated and it changes their life.
Girl, you changing lives one kiteboard at a time.
Try to, right?
Hey, it's not trying. You making it work. I mean, you know the cliche: when there's a will, there's a way.
Uh,
Um, so
Very true. Well,
yeah,
even with competing and stuff, like I've never been the type of person who is just naturally gifted at sports. Like I actually worked and trained really hard to gain the level to compete. And, anybody has the ability to do it if you really want it bad. You just have to put in the time and work, which is nice. I like that because some sports are, like basketball or motocross, in my opinion, I think you have to be incredibly talented to do that, where I think kiting, anyone can do it.
good point. Absolutely good point.
It's surprising, though, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is. With a sport that is kiteboarding, like any other sport, there are challenges. That being said, what do you consider as your biggest challenge in your career of kiteboarding?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, it's the affording to be able to travel all around the world all the time. It's challenging. It's nothing to do with the physicalness of the sport, but I mean the problem is it's incredibly addictive. And then, as you know, the seasons change and all over the world. So what ends up happening is you constantly have to change countries, searching for the best wind conditions, and that can be a bit expensive. So yeah, and we don't make a ton of money in the sport. I mean, the one thing with kiting is because it's still new and it hasn't gained momentum as far as paying. So I had last year I won the Canadian Nationals, and you would think for a national title, you'd get something, but I literally won nothing, just a small trophy, and that makes it hard because you'd want to travel around to compete, but when you don't win anything, that's challenging.
Challenging for sure. Do you think it's more challenging with the wind per se, or is it like the water, depending on the waves and stuff like that?
Well, as far as conditions go, I mean, if you pick a place like, for example, where I am here in Turks and Caicos, the wind and the water, they're both very relaxed. So the wind is not strong and the water is quite flat. So that's really easy for people. But if you were to go to a place like South Africa and Cape Town, the wind is really strong and it's cold and the waves are huge. So, that's quite a difficult place, and you want to have a higher level before you try those type of places. So if you do kite or get into the sport or want to learn, it's really important that you research the location you're going to go to, because you want to pick conditions that are, going to give you the opportunity to actually enjoy learning and not it be a big fight.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely something to keep in mind. I guess regardless of who's competing, do you think do you when you compete in an event, do you focus more on the conditions, or do you focus more on the participants that's in the event?
Well, I mean, once you get to a certain point, you can deal with any conditions. I mean, obviously some are a bit more difficult than others, and you have a little bit more of an opportunity to get hurt, or maybe not even having the right equipment for the conditions. But I don't know. Personally, when I compete, I focus a little bit more on the mental game of it, because I think this might sound bad, but it's just the way it is. I mean, especially for a woman, a lot of women are not very competitive to a certain level. I mean, a lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. And especially in kiting, there's not often enough women to even make a competition. So a lot of the time girls are kind of, manipulated into it, or their friends push them, they're scared to death, which is, I mean, gives you an advantage if you're someone who competes a lot. And that's just the reality, you know what I mean? Like, things are changing now from how it used to be. I mean, my last competition, a lot of the girls were very, very good, and there was a lot more younger girls now who have been riding for a few years. So the competition is starting to get more difficult, but in the past it wasn't. So I really focused on the mental part of competing, if you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. You being an athlete, you definitely take pride of competing to the best of your ability and perform at a high level. That being said, what do you consider as your biggest highlight of your career thus far?
I would say when I started speed racing, it was something that I didn't even know existed, and a friend of mine had introduced me to it, and literally it's a specific board that's different than any other board, and he let me try it, and 2 days later I ended up qualifying for the World Championships, which I had no idea. He did it behind my back. And then 3 weeks later, I flew to France and I competed in the World Championships. And I literally did not know what I was doing at all. Like, I was so new to it, and it was very overwhelming, and I was terrified, to be honest with you. But, I just did the best I could, and over the 4 or 5 days that we competed, I ended up getting third. So I was really proud of myself because it was a very big challenge, and getting a title like that as third in the world, it's incredible. Like, it's by far the biggest highlight I've ever had in my life.
Well, congratulations on that accomplishment.
Thank
Um,
you.
and it just shows how dedicated you are and how much you are willing to do to perform and to win. And I'd say more kudos for just getting out there and performing and you did good. You
Thank you.
you did good. I mean, I understand like you want to win, but at least you did it fair. You did it with honor and respect, and that shows great on your part.
Thanks. Well, I just feel that it's important. Like, I always wanted to show people that, like I said before, you don't have to be this person who's just naturally gifted. Like, you can accomplish really great goals if you just really try. A lot of being successful in life and anything is just showing up and trying. You never know, and a lot of people underestimate themselves. So, I'd like to be an inspiration to people that, you can do it. So,
Well, you are definitely quite the inspiration in my book.
thank you.
And look, this woman can train anybody, anyone, any age, as I've learned. In other sports, you can't perform later in life, but in kiteboarding, you can. And she has shown proof that that is possible. Um, well, let me ask you this: you mentioned earlier in the interview that you get to travel in different countries. That
Hmm.
being said, what are some of your favorite countries that you like to kiteboard in, that you like to compete in, rather?
I really did enjoy Cape Town, even though the conditions are difficult. I liked the challenge of it, and while I was there, actually, I started to learn to surf, which I hadn't done before, like with the kite. And the waves can get really big and quite intimidating. And I competed in the nationals for South Africa, and I ended up getting third in that, which was cool. I was pretty stoked about it because I'm not a surfer at all, and it was not very comfortable for me to be out in big waves like that. I was quite intimidated, and I still am. And I really like that place because I found, personally, I grew a lot, and it has a good social life. It's pretty. It's very, very cheap, which is awesome. Um, and Brazil is also another really great place to go. Like, the culture there is really unique and fun, and I just find people there are generally happy. And for kiteboarding, it's great because the wind blows every single day, all day and all night for like 6 months. So it's an excellent place to train. But ultimately, I kind of like these really hot, beautiful islands. You get a little spoiled after a while, and maybe the conditions aren't perfect or the wind is not as good as other places, but, living in a bikini every day is great.
Just for the record, Jessica, I don't blame you for feeling the way you feel, considering you competed in a sport where the conditions for the most part are decent, and it's in the sun, and the location is wonderful. I'm sure a lot of athletes would love to be in those type of conditions, just to be outside and the weather is good, and people get the. It's like being in the beach and just enjoying it. That's just it. let's just put it this way. It's very mesmerizing. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice life. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, every day I wake up and I'm so happy, getting up and getting in a car and sitting in an office and then getting back in the car and watching TV. I mean, I could never live that way. To me, that just, it's just, I don't know, I feel bad for people. I just want to take them away from that and bring them to the island and throw them in the water and show them like how exhilarating and special life can be.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I think people forget, hey? Like, I think people get too wrapped up in trying to accomplish too many goals and just forget the simple things and, go for a swim and just, sit on a beach and just be quiet. It's amazing. Like, to me, sometimes, when I'm out kiting, it's beautiful because it's quiet and, you're by yourself, and if you're in a place where the water's clear and there's like reef, you can see fish, and I mean, it's honestly the most spectacular thing, and it's not extreme at all in those conditions, and sometimes I just find it's like an escape from everything, and I think that's really important. I think for people, especially a lot of the people I've met from New York, I find that I've had people who come to my schools or my camps or wherever I've been, and the people from New York are just wound up, and it takes me a few days to calm them down, and then they learn to kite, and they're like two different people from the time they arrive to the time they leave. It's really wonderful. Like, I highly recommend anyone who's listening to really give it a try. It's a life-changing sport.
I say, why not? If a 70-year-old can do it, why not? Why not the typical person? Uh,
Exactly. Yeah, that the biggest misconception, like I said before, is that you have to be really strong, and it's not. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, like, if a little child can do it, then it has nothing to do with strength. You know what I mean?
that is true.
Yeah.
My last question for you, Jessica, before I let you go,
Mhm.
is for people that wants to keep in track with you, what you're doing, what you been up to.
Mhm.
Why don't you go ahead and promote your social media links like Facebook, Twitter, or any other places people need to check out?
Yeah, I'm fairly easy to find. I think the simplest way is in Google if you put in my full name, which is Jessica Winkler, and then if you put the word kite surfer after, that will actually bring up my Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, but I also do have my own website, which is just jessicawinkler.net or .com, either way. So, and I do keep it up to date. I'm posting pictures and places I am usually daily, if not every other day. So I like to keep it entertaining.
Oh, it's definitely interesting. So, people be on the lookout for those links. And Jessica, great chatting with you. You
Yeah,
sound
thanks
so
again for this rescheduling. I really do appreciate that.
yeah, rescheduling, aka redo, aka mulligan. Yeah, yeah, we'll go with the reschedule. Why not? Girl, you sound so clear. I don't want to let you go, but I know you're a busy woman. You got a lot of things to do. You got a lot more traveling to do. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you go. But
thank
oh, one more thing I want to bring up.
you. Hmm.
She is a client through World Entertainment Agency, and if you want to book her for for kiteboarding events, events, interviews, etc., you can contact them at worldentertainmentagency.com. Contact Troy and Craig and tell them you want to book Jessica, and they'll help get it set up. Um, check them out. World Entertainment Agency. They have a variety for sure. Check them out. Good chatting with you, Jessica. You take care. Have a great time in Tacos, which I think sounds like an alcohol drink. Like it's, it sounds like you want to drink or something. Let's go. Okay, let me have a bottle of Tacos for a moment. Yeah, just yeah. But take care of yourself, Jessica.
All right, you too. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Bye
Bye.
bye. That was Jessica Winkler joining me right here on the show, and second time's a charm. I truly enjoy Jessica. She is awesome, and she